MC opens his eyes looking at the ceiling, realizing it was a nursery. He flips over in excitement, as this meant that he had successfully absorbed the power of the Styx River. A servant approaches and places a box in a crib of Vikir, saying why the madam would give such a thing. The cure notices and wonders why anyone would give him a gift. The box opens slowly. The cure is taken back as a long, dark figure slithers out of the box. The MC recognizes it as vipers called bloody mambas, thinking that the madam sent those here to kill him, knowing who madam was, as few were called that in the family. The vipers hissed at the vacuum. The cure quickly grabs both vipers by the throat while smiling widely like a blood-driven hound, as he expected such treatment from the Baskervilles. He strangles the vipers with forced thinking to bring down the family with his own 2 hands. Blood stains are seen on the bed sheet of the crib. The next day, the servants are shocked, seeing the Vikir sleeping soundly while surrounded by the dead bodies of the vipers. Orders were given to execute the nannies after being tortured, who was on shift the night the vipers came. But the reason for their appearance remained unknown. Only the cure knew the truth 8 years later. Vikir is sitting in class, listening to a lecture. The teacher talks about the different levels of swordsmanship. Sword beginners are those unable to use mana. Sword experts were those who could use even a little bit of mana. Sword graduators were those that could emit mana in a liquid-like or a form. The final level, where aura is solid and its form freely changeable, is called the Swordmaster. He noted that the strongest member of the Baskervilles, Sir Hugo, was at the Swordmaster level. The children are in awe of this fact. A set of triplets grins widely as they stare at him. A hand shoves Mikir as he is called Garbage Van. It was the triplets, having heard the weird rumors about the cure being in the river for 7 minutes and strangling 2 vipers when he was a baby. They approached him. The Q remains silent as he recalls his memories of these 3, knowing that they were the ones to stab him when he was running away due to the defamation in his previous life. They were called the Hugo Look Baskerville Trident. We'll simply call them High, Middle, and Low. They shouted at Vikir to stop lying, stating that they didn't like him, knowing they'll be troublesome in the future. Vikir decides to put them in their place now. High points a knife at the cure, stating that his body was like steel since he was in the river for so long, making him immune to injuries from blades. I asked if he could test it. High calls low covers. The cure's mouth to stop him from breathing, stating he would eat his hand if the cure endures for 3 minutes. The cure decides to play along with their scheme. 1 minute passes as High and Middle believe that the rumor was fake. 3 minutes pass, and they realize the cure was good. 10 minutes passes, and they were too stunned to speak. They decide to let the cure go. A crunching sound is heard as Low looks at his hand and blood appears. The cure spits as Low screams in pain. High and Middle shout at the cure, asking what he was doing. The cure, with bright red eyes as he wiped the blood off his smile, repeated that they said they would eat their hand. Middle refute back by saying they weren't scared of IKEA. But Low was afraid. As he held his bleeding hand, Middle stare at Low in disbelief. They attempt to leave to find a priest to fix Low's hand, but the Vakir stops them in anger. High stabs occur in the stomach, stating they were older than him. To his surprise, the knife didn't cut him. The Q reminds them that being in Baskerville meant that power and talent are greater than age. High screams in pain as Vekir twists his hand. Vikir, in Hound mode, grins widely and tells them to play till the end with him. High, in pain, shouts that the rumors were true as Vikir lets go of his hand, giving him a punch straight to the face. Middle and Low are shocked as High falls to the ground with his teeth broken and nose bleeding. Middle attempts to fight, but the cure simply kicks him to the side with no effort. Get wrecked, son. Low stumbles onto the ground, shocked at what had happened. Victor tells him to not be afraid, as he'll get better in no time once treated, but warns him as he picks the knife off the floor that he won't be leaving the room, and that they had to live with the discomfort of their own bodies. At this rate, the cure offers one of them a chance to leave the room as he stares at the knife in his hand. Low asks which of them could leave as the other 2 brothers hold their wounds. The knife is tossed to them as the cure tells them to decide amongst themselves. The cure slowly exits the room and mentions he can't wait too long and that it should be decided quickly, with blood-red eyes and a grin on his face. PQ turns to them as the door closes, saying at least one. Them should live. As the door closes, the triplets are left in shock, but soon stared at one another. Sounds of fighting and yelling could Be heard behind the doors as the cure stands to listen while smiling. The Trident of Baskerville have began to split. Barrymore reports to Hugo that another bloody situation have occurred with the Moore clan in regards to the ruby mines, with the Morgue clan stating that it was theirs. Hugo says an opportunity in the future will allow them to discuss it properly and wonders. Hugo smiles happily at that fact and wonders when the practical exam will happen in 5 days. Guardian Knights have left to prepare, Barrymore replies, making the fortress vacant now. Barrymore further reports about the fight between the young masters, stating that there were no deaths, but that High's teeth were completely damaged. Bakir is seen standing before Hugo and Barrymore. He greets Hugo as the patriarch. Hugo tells the Cure about how he disabled the triplets. The Q replies that they had received the proper medical treatment. Since then, Hugo states that their hearts were disabled. The triplets were no longer eating or talking together anymore, making their combination technique completely torn apart. The Cure smiles. In silent, Hugo asks if it was wrong that Bakir turned his brothers into a total mess. Aya replies he was simply stronger and wonders if the stronger person is ever wrong. Hugo shares that his brothers had came before and forgiven him. The Q recalls a past memory where the youngest daughter of the family that Baskerville ruined paid Hugo a visit. She had become a nun and told Hugo she forgave him and offered him a mess. Hugo's response was, as Bakir speaks it out loud, that forgiveness is just an excuse made by the weak, who cannot seek revenge due to their lack of strength. Victor's eyes glow red as he spoke those words. Hugo is elated at what was said as he smiles widely. Hugo recites the family motto, "Only the strong will reign. Supreme weakness is a sin." Hugo rewards the Cure by allowing him to take any snack from the food storage, just enough for him to carry. Bakir is happy and asks for chocolate as he thanks the patriarch for the reward. As he turns to leave, Hugo calls him his son and to do well on the interim evaluation, not to lose to direct descendants. Bakir is disgusted at what he hears but replies, "Yes, my lord, anyways." Barrymore introduces the infamous chocolate enjoyed by the Germans of the Morgue clan, saying it's the highest quality, which was hard to get. The Cure declines. It's saying he needs cacao beans that have a rich aroma. Barrymore and the chefs were confused at the request. Cacao beans, colored purple, called bloody beans, were given to the Q, each bean being able to produce 100 liters of chocolate. Vicchio tastes them and is appalled by their taste. Barrymore wonders to himself that the MC must really like chocolate to eat such bitter beans on their own, and that he was brilliant for finding a way to get chocolate even with the restrictions placed by the patriarch. The chef asks if he wants to process the beans. The Q declines and takes them, as is Barrymore wonders if Fakir had such peculiar taste. However, BQ did not get the chocolate to eat, but to use them in the practical exam 5 days later up in the mountains. The MC stands grinning widely, knowing that a huge catastrophe would occur that has never happened in a clan before. Children of the basketball family are put through strenuous events, and early education from a young age. Being able to take their first steps meant they had to run up a steep mountain, never allowed to lie down or be on their stomachs. Time to sleep is only ever with a monster corpse to adjust to tough environments. When completed, they turn 8 years old, starting their deadly evaluation, bringing us to the practical evaluation, which is a survival exam. The young masters are gathered in a territory far end of the Luruji Tilonwar mountain. Have love. The instructor of the exam instructs the masters on what needs to be done. Survive for 1 month while hunting large and strong monsters. 10 points were given for surviving 30. If they survive without being disabled, failing others, and surviving 50 points. Surviving after beating a monster, 70 points. If all conditions mentioned were done, 90 points. Stealing badges from others make their points. Yours dying results in 0 points. 100 points do not exist. Have love reminds them of Hugo's lesson that a swordsman dies when they become arrogant. He advises them not to leave the designated area, as the mountain contains many undiscovered things during the exam. Shadow dogs will hide and grade them. Gossip spreads amongst the candidates as they talk of the rumors about the Cure, wondering if he was going to be good at the practical as well. The Cure smiles as he remembers the mountain. The triplets avoid looking at him. Pavlov rings the bell, marking the start of the exam and praying for their fortune. The young masters instantly vanished, each with a plan of their own. The triplets argue with one another. The killing was not prohibited as it resulted in deducting points have love smokes. A cigarette knowing that the shadow dogs will keep casualties to a minimum. A shadow dog is seen following the cure, wondering where he was going, looking forward to the cure's skills, due to his previous achievements since young. The Q arrives at a huge tree. Noting that the soft ground is best, he decides to live and take a break here, as the shadow dog watches him. Shadow Dog is shocked at him taking a break. Vikia gathers wood and is building things like in Minecraft as the others fight amongst themselves. The Shadow Dog is in disbelief, as the cure simply was gathering resources and wonders if he plans to just hide here. He decides to leave here, takes note that he had left while reminiscing about the past, before a subordinate had told the cure that cacao beans make fish less smelly, and that bloody beans were the best. The cure stares into flames and smoke, knowing he had finished preparing, deciding to start hunting as pits of spears are seen surrounding him.